All right, take a look. Right down there is the plane, not just of my dreams, but probably of many dreams for many people. This is the Cessna 310R, the turbo normalized version. It's from Milviz, and when I was a kid, my uncle, who flew a Mooney Super 21 that even at my age and my size at the time was too small for me. One of his brother-in-laws, whose name escapes me, was a fancy pants lawyer in Greenwich, Connecticut. And we went to his house once for a birthday, I think, for one of his kids. And he had out on his coffee table some brochures for the planes he was looking at, and one of them I remember was this plane, and done up almost in the same livery. And I got to tell you, it was pretty damn slick for 1974. It, of course, has this great rear window, sort of like an Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser station wagon, if you remember what that was like. But this is, of course, far sleeker than that. It came well equipped, and it even included this wild thing they called an HSI, which for private aviation was new and very, very convenient, because it combined the directional gyro with the VOR one receiver and the CDI and all the rest of that. And it, at the time, it seemed almost miraculous, which is probably the only reason I can sort of instinctively navigate to the extent that I can, is because as a kid, I remember looking at that book and that magazine, and reading a few books on navigation, and realizing that what I'd been taught in the books with the DG and the fixed compass cards and the not the ADIs, the ADFs with the fixed cards, or the rotating cards, and how the rotating card was such a breakthrough of the fixed card and all the rest of that, that all of a sudden, with this little gizmo here, it all became a hell of a lot more intuitive, and you didn't have to do things like know that you were on a back course and then think about it in the reverse way that you were, and have to think about whether you're to or from. No, you would just turn this needle to the course you wanted to be on. You tuned in your station to correspond with that course, and then you banked and turned in whichever direction you wanted to put this needle up front here, and to center the CDI with the rest of it there. And it all became sort of like a dawdle. So this is Milviz's first expedition into X-plane, and it is beautiful. And it's got a flight model from my good friend Alan, or Rush, depending on what you want to call him, at, hang on a second, my EGT is way above norm. I'm just going to richen up the mixture here. I had it leaned a little bit for the ground, but I think my throttle's a little non-linear, and it leaned it too much. That little asterisk is peak right there. And I was certainly saving gasoline, but it looks like I was running things just a little too hot. So while I'm at it here, let me just make sure the cowl flaps are open, and let's just check our temps. So we've been idling for a little bit. All right, so what we're going to do, this isn't showing up here in the dash because I don't know. This is X-plane 11.30, so I can show it here by just explicitly displaying it. This is also a new rig, and just to give you some idea, it is 8700K, running at 5200 megahertz, and because I run in a lot of places with heavy autogen and heavy ortho photo scenery, I splurged, and I spent most of my bonus money this year on a Titan RTX, which is really, just in case you're wondering or worrying, not one single bit faster than the 2080 Ti. However, instead of having 11 gigs of VRAM, it's got 24. And that really comes in handy because X-Plane will eat up everything you've got. Let me just show you my settings here. We've got high for visual effects. Most of the stuff on the left side is GPU dependent. Most of the stuff on the right is CPU dependent. So that's the reason why no matter how fast you go, at least for the moment, you can only go so far in this. So I've got this on high instead of ultra or maximum or whatever. But I've got this on maximum, visual effects on high, and you can see already that X-Plane is gobbling up almost 13 gigs of VRAM, which is 2 more than 11 and 5 more than 8, but it's also 11 less than 24, which is what I've got. So that's why I've got it. And I can't say that any other thing about it is worth getting, but if you're in a situation with really high density orthos, then it might be something to consider. Anyway, I've also revamped my physical regimen, so I've cut out for at least 3 or 4 weeks coffee with caffeine in it. So if I yawn a little bit, that's why. But what we're going to do is we'll take this thing up. I'll just run it through some pretty idiotic ham-fisted kind of test maneuvers, and then we'll head down to Nantucket and just do a brief little IFR jaunt down there. I'm hoping it's VFR, but I don't have much hope of that, so we're ready to go IFR, but well, not quite. So let's just put in a flight plan here. We're at Logan, which is wildly unrealistic because it'd be way too expensive to fly out of here as a small twin. But let's put in a departure. No, let's not put in a departure. We're gonna hoon around a little bit in the sky, so screw that. So we'll put in our flight plan here, and let's do this. We'll fly to Celts. Yeah, look at that. They can't help themselves, can they? Celts. And then we'll pick up an airway that'll take us practically all the way to Nantucket. Okay. And we'll load airway. And we're going to get off of the V141 because that's the only airway that makes sense at Grog. There we go. And it displays. There it is right there. Okay, we'll load that. And then we'll add the waypoint just before our approach, which is Oh Booby. Well, first of all, let's add Nantucket, and we'll put in a procedure, and we'll do the ILS 24 transition Oh Booby, and we will not fly the course reversal there, and we'll load that approach. And now let's see what we've got. Okay, magenta line there. All right, well, you see it's flying us first to Nantucket and then the course reversal. Let's just humor it and edit that. Sure, why the hell not? Okay, there we go. We should be visual with the field by then, and so probably just forego that, but in case we have it, I'm sorry, just in case we need it, we have it. There we go. That's all set. And we're going to launch off of runway 15, pardon me, 15 right, which is the long runway here. The other thing I'm going to do is turn up the lights a little bit, because as you can kind of see, the gamma on this whole thing is just a little bit dark, which means that the shadows are not as open as they probably would be, which in turn means that it's really hard to see things like the state of these switches. So I don't want to mess around with any of this, but makes it hard. So I think what we'll do is we'll depart out of here. We'll of course go over the city of Boston, and because that's the most dangerous place to be, we'll do our idiotic maneuvers there and make sure we don't crash this thing. Some things to think about is I'm in Active Sky XP here, and they've got a few problems. One of them is excessive side forces from winds on small planes, so you may see the ball deflect more than it normally does, and I hesitate to make too much of it, but I'll try to correct things as much as I can, but it's not realistic there. They've also got some sharp transitions at some points immediately after liftoff and into the winds, and because I think of 11.30 glitches, I can't see this here, but I'll probably just end up reinstalling the airplane. Other than that, I think we're reasonably good to go. I've got one notch of flaps in. The trim is a little bit hard to see, and it led me to think that something was broken, but the trim index here is there, and then the trim indicator is right there, so you can see it's sort of black on black, or super black on black, and that's why it's a little bit hard to see. I'm using a shitty Cytec throttle right now because my fancy ass Virtual Fly one for the second time broke. I'm going to be working with them shortly to see if there's some sort of weird ass problem that can be fixed, but it feels like an out and out hardware failure that just needs to be dealt with by replacing the item in question. Alright, so we'll taxi to 15 right. This is a freeware from Mr. X6. Now, I'm not going to do a bunch of run-ups. Well, actually, there's no reason not to. And just looking at the windsock up there, so we got a little bit of a crosswind from the right. But let's just do a quick run-up here. So we'll stop the whole short line. We'll put on the parking brake. We're going to run the power up to 1700 RPM, give or take. And I'm just going to exercise the props. Get the oil flowing into them. They're a little abrupt, a little non-linear, but okay. And now we're going to come up to about 2,000. And we'll check our left engine first. Check for a drop on that magneto. We got it. On that magneto, we got it. It should be a little bit, but not a lot. Now on the right engine. Got that. And the right magneto on the right engine. We got that. All right. So we've sort of assured ourselves that that electrically we're okay. I'm just checking our gauges here. We're just a little bit rich at heat. That's fine. Everything else looks kosher. Fuel quantity. Well, fuel quantity is enough. And flaps, can't see at a glance, are down one notch. So now when I bring up the gear, it should bring up the door, the steps right here, the passenger steps, but we'll see. And in the meantime, let's set runway heading and runway course, which I, being a bad pilot, neglected to do. Sort of belt suspenders to make sure you're in the right place. All right, so we are right here. And this is 150.1, so how do you like that? We'll dial up 151 to our course. All right, we'll do the same for the heading. All right, now we're good to go. Just gonna remove the parking brakes, and the airplane is not as eager to taxi on idle power as some X-plane aircraft, but I think it's because they've been tinkering with the ground friction model. All right, so here we are. Flaps are set, trim is set. Let's set our transponder. 2245. Altitude reporting, enter. Okay, so that's active. That's all good. And our engines all look nominal. If you hold the yoke at all forward on this airplane, it'll get really squirrely on the ground. So the idea in my mind is to start out with just a little gentle back pressure and then just almost go hands off. But now, because you can see the windsock right here, wind is coming from this way. So I'm going to start with, let me show you. I'm going to start with this cocked fully into the wind, and I'll slowly unload that as I go. So just gonna remove that though, and we'll rotate it about 90, and we'll climb a blue line, and maybe we'll practice a VMC one engine out. We'll probably stall it a couple times and see what we can see. So probably going to take a gentle dab of left rudder and a lot of right aileron to keep our wings level. So let us go. Windy. All right, we'll work with that. We'll nose down here. Go gear up, and we'll pitch for blue line right now. Oh yeah, look at us, look at the nose move around there. And it actually moves around reasonably well. Alright, so we'll hold runway heading here. Bring up our flaps. Let the nose come up a little bit. Come back to more sensible climb power. And bring the props back slightly. And turn towards the city because that's where we're going to do stupid things. I have to say, I'm relatively new to this airplane, and it is, just want to stay out of the soup here. It is a little bit finicky in pitch, and that is a known characteristic of this plane, and it's nice that it's modeled. And it's otherwise pretty docile. It is really pretty gentle and manageable, which is great. So let's, well, we're kind of low, but shall we do some stalls? I'll do an accelerated stall first, so I'll do power on stall here. Level. Okay, there's the buffet. There's the nose drop. Just point the nose down, gather some speed, bring the power back in. That was very benign. Let's try a oh, you know what? Because of my throttle setup, I can't, at the moment, do a VMC demo because, well, because my throttle controls both. Oh wait, we can fix that. All right, here's how we're going to do this. Go into our settings here, because I'm using this crappy SciTech thing. So we'll go to joystick. SciTech bullshit thing, and we're going to say that this controls throttle 2. So this is number 3, and we'll just have it control throttle 2. So now what I can do is, all right, there we go. So what I can do right now is I can just cut power on this engine. I'm just going to stabilize this, and I'm not going to feather the props. This is sort of the worst case scenario. So I'll get our power in here. Going to get rudder into the good engine and a little bit of bank so that I end up with about a half a ball deflection here. And I'm not really fully going to get that because of that quirk I told you about before, the wind thing blowing the ball to one side. But let me just start cranking in some right rudder trim, and let's see how we can get it. Okay, so we'll level off here. Put a little more wing into it. And we're going to pull back to VMC and then below, and then at the first sign of any sort of stall-like behavior, we're going to, yeah, this is, see, no matter how much rudder I put in, oh, there we go, that gets us about our half ball, there we go. All right, so that's about where we want to be with a bad engine. And notice I haven't feathered it. So we're in level flight, we're maintaining a course, we're maintaining a heading, 300 heading, and we're pretty good. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to start to pull back, and pull back, and pull back. We'll see how it behaves. I'm trying to keep the wing as level as I can. Okay, there's VMC. Now we're going to get below that, and it is going to get very hard to control. Now I'm going to go beyond it instead of abandoning right there, and I'm going to see what happens. All right, what happens is we start to get into an incipient spin. So there we go, and I'll bring back the good engine, the bad engine, or I'll make the bad engine good, and we're back in business. Now I'll just retrim here and level us out. Even the behavior there is not really terrifying, which is good. Now I don't know whether that's the model or whether that really is the way it is, but what I'll do very quickly is I'll just get our throttle thing back so that it runs both throttles, because I've got a shitty yoke shitty throttle quadrant right now. All right, now let's see where we are. That looks unfamiliar. Let's just pick up some altitude here. Oh, I see where we are. That was 93. That's Pleasure Bay, and the airport's coming up right over there. All right. Because I know you want me to do it. Oh no, you know what? I won't do it. If I roll the airplane, what will happen is the ADI will break. I tried it. Well, here, I do these things for you, and then I'll fix the ADI. Let's go a little nose up and around, and maintain the horizon there. There we go. All right, now, in a second, I'm going to get fuel starvation, so let me just roll out of this. There we go. All right. It is a pretty docile aircraft. Now I'm going to have to fix this, so let me just see if we can fix it. There we go. Okay. So let's get to a sensible cruising speed, and let's head down to Nantucket. So as you can see, this is, it's a pretty slick setup. So get our asses in gear here. Skip that. There we go. Flight plan. Activate leg. There we go. All right. I'm just going to follow the HSI here, and we will climb our way up to about 7,000 feet. You can see why HSIs were considered damn near miraculous back in the day. Trim, get ourselves going, nose down here, and we'll depart the Bay Area, the Boston Bay Area. Just going to get into a navigation mode here. Altitude, and let's see how the autopilot behaves. It does a little bit of oscillation, and I don't know how much of that is this flight model in 11.3 and how much of it is accurately modeling the way this autopilot flies. It could be a little bit of both. Let's just see if I can just make this a little gentler. Oh wait, I know what I can do. Hang on. This is my yoke. No yoke in here. There we go. All right. It's been so long since I've flown the Brunner yoke, but there we go. Autopilot. No, I think that's pretty good. Yeah, that may be fine. Just see if I can make it a little gentler. I think some of this is my own fault. Okay. Oh, that's bad. Okay. I just made the autopilot or the yoke a little less aggressive is what I did. And now we'll just get down to about 25 in the manifold, about 25 on the RPM. Get a nice cruise climb here. And there's Nantucket, not to be confused with Nantucket. And we're just flying down the South Shore. And I'm going to just increase our rate of climb here because you can see we do have a little bit of speed to spare. Try 1300 and see what that gets us. And you can see we're running a little rich right now, so I'm going to bring that back just a peak. There we go. And we do have our altitude armed, 7,000 feet. And we really have performance aplenty here. Let's go up even faster. All right, we're 1,300 feet away. Altitude should be armed, so it should stop at 7,000. We're on the V141 airway. You can see we've got a massive quartering tailwind here, which is why our nose is pointed that way and we're going this way. Just gonna do a little right rudder trim here. All right, let's see if we stop. That's test number 1 of the autopilot. It's a King KAP 140. They've been making for years. And here we go. It does not have GPS steering. That means that you have to readjust your course or desired track whenever you make a turn, and it's not going to make a big sharp turn. It will only make a pretty minorly turn, and if you need to make a sharp turn, then you probably need to get into heading mode because it doesn't have turn anticipation or anything else like that. So let's brief our approach. I don't think we're going to need to brief our approach because I think we'll be visual by the time we get there. But you can see we're coming down this airway here. I should tune in Nantucket in NAV2. I've noticed that NAV2 doesn't work in my RMI on this plane, in this model, with this operating system. And that's a lot of ifs, but what do we say, 116.2? Yes. We'll get that tuned up. Not sure we'll be able to see it. We'll plunk it in there and we should see it here on NAV2. Alright, that, I believe, is our NAV2 needle. go. All right, 63 miles. That's about right. You can see a little bit of wing down to combat this crosswind component. You put in a little more right rudder trim, and that should allow us to fly a little more wings level. And you can see our wings are leveling out there. And we are certainly flying at a nice clip. What I'm going to do is I'll bring our manifold pressure down to about 23, and I'll bring our props down to about the same. Give us a little passenger comfort, maybe a little more economy. See what our fuel flow is. And our outside air temperature, which is in a really inconvenient place, is at about minus 3 or 4 Celsius, which means that if we encounter any moisture, we should turn on our ice protection, because that's a dangerous place to be. Oh, and because my good friend and colleague John Fly does it, and because I'm doing my best not to be the potty mouth he knows I am, I'm going to do a little John Fly flyby shot here, because it's beautiful. Alright, so there we are. So, okay, our lights are all good. See what I'm doing here. There we go. All 12 of our cylinders are in good shape. We're 56 from Nantucket. We are visual, so we probably will just fly visually. And you can see the levers twitching a little bit. That's because the SciTech stuff has got such crappy, dirty pots. But we're going to try to ignore that. Just have a good time. Let's see, what else have I done in my hiatus? Well, I made a resolution to get my PPL by the end of the year, and I think I can do that. Just shopping for flying schools right now. My buddy with the Piper Arrow sadly has moved out to Florida, and I'm going to go down to see him and his wife next month and probably get a little flying in. I said, hope for good flying weather, and he messaged me back. He said, hey, this is Florida, not Alaska, so it should be good. He lives right near Daytona Beach. I don't know why they moved down there, but no accounting for that. He just retired from American Airlines, and he wrote a column about it. He writes the backseat column, backseat, jump seat, whatever the hell, at the very end of Flying Magazine, and he wrote about his final flight. It was very sweet. I got to meet his first officer on that flight, and he was really cool. Threw a big going away shindig for him at the airport in Danbury, which is the other reason I'm sorry he moved down south is because I got an enormous kick flying in and out of Danbury, because it's just a nasty little airport. It's got short runways, and the main landing runway is at the bottom of a hill over a highway, and it's just fun to come plunging down that hillside and landing, even in a small plane. And one of his buddies does it in a citation, so that's a lot of fun. He's flying out of, I think, Flagler Beach or something like that down there, and it's an interesting little airport too. But I think what we're going to try and do is fly down near the Kennedy Space Center and see if we can get a low approach authorized to the shuttle landing strip and just go buzzing down that. I know it's juvenile, but in case you haven't figured it out by now, I'm juvenile. Alright, so we're heading down. We're right around Plymouth right now. I don't know if you can see the rock down there. Either Plymouth Rock or Dwayne the Rock. But what you can see is just how amazingly good looking this airplane is. Look at the little streaks and weather marks and oil splotches and things on it. It really does look great. My only beef, as I said, is that the gamma is a little bit, I forget whether it's high or low, but essentially what it means is that the shadows get dark really quick. And so things like this aren't very well differentiated. Dark from very dark is just not easy to see. The shadows aren't open, I guess is the best way to put it. Alright, let's see where we are now. Because we're going to make a turn shortly. And I'm going to adjust our desired track here. And we're over water, but A, we're in a twin, and B, we're pretty much within gliding range of everything. So it's not a huge problem. I'm just going to flip-flop these. Check our approach plate, just in case we need it. Alright, our course is 241. That's the lighting right there. That'll help us identify it. If we're pretty far off that, then we're in real trouble. Nantucket town is actually off of runway 15 this way, as you can see over here. Probably give you a good look at it. And it is just, it's a beautiful island. I've sometimes dreamed of living there year-round. Not to be there in the summer, but just to be on a sort of place like that in the sort of desolate winter might be kind of cool. Alright, so we're going to go to 169, so let me just adjust this right now. Just a gentle turn. Adjust our heading, but let's see how well the airplane does it. Alright, it's pretty good. Alright, so here we go. If we're going to fly the approach, we want to, it looks like we're going to fly a hold entry, or a procedure turn, entry to Obube, and it is going to be a parallel entry. No, we'll do, I think we can do a teardrop entry here. We can come in this way and go around immediately. Let's see if it actually shows it on the flight plan. No, I can't see the hold options. Alright, well, there is one way to find out, and that is just to watch it fly the hold. Now you notice that instead of VCalc, this has actual VNAV now, and that's because this Reality XP thing simply uses Garmin's own software, and as Garmin has upgraded, as we just come over Cape Cod here, and looks like Barnstable Harbor right there. As Garmin has updated its GTNs, it also updates its GTN trainer software, and then it shows up in fake airplanes. And so it has a VNAV function, and it even put in a TOD for us. So let's just see what that looks like. It has it even marked right in there. So let's see. It is, oh, I see what it's going to do. It's going to fly us to Nantucket. It is going to turn us outbound. It's going to take us to Obu Bay. And then it is, look at that, it's going to fly a teardrop entry into the hole. And away we go. So let's just take a look as we head out over Nantucket Sound at our flight plan. So we've got Grog and then Nantucket. Let's go wacky. Let's activate the approach and let's see what it does. I think it'll take us direct to Obu Bay and it'll omit this, but I'm not sure. Alright, yes, now it's taking us direct to Obu Bay, and it puts the top of descent right before Obu Bay, which is odd because we're going to be very high. Okay, there's Route 6, that's where we are. That's called the Mid-Cape Highway. And let's see how it does it. Oh, it's still flying the hold. Now, if we delete this hold, I will bet you it'll move our TOD, because then we're going to have to be lower than we would if we were going to fly around a hold. Okay, just adjust our course. 50. Now, you see it puts the top of descent right before the initial approach fix because it assumes we'll fly the hold. Boy, I wonder how this thing is going to fly hold. That is an open question. Matter of fact, let's just do this. Let's get tuned up here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into heading mode just briefly, and we're going to put the autopilot into heading mode because I'm going to be futzing around with nav source. So we're in heading mode now. There we go. Confirmed. Flip over to nav 1. It's not letting us, so that's probably because it's slaved to this. I'm going to switch to VLOC and it automatically switches to nav 1. And we're just going to adjust the course. For that, I adjusted the heading book. Do that. We'll adjust the course to our inbound, which is 241. And now we'll flip back into that mode, and let me just flip. Okay, good, so they stick. The settings stick. You can set both. Okay, so now I can go back into nav mode, confident that when it comes time to switch over to the localizer to VLOC, it's not going to ask me to set my course. I believe that's Monomoy Island here, which is just on the southern tip off the elbow of the Cape. Here, let's just see. Oh, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. Alright, so yeah, that's Chatham right at the end. That's Nauset Beach right here, and Coast Guard Beach right there, and that is Monomoy Island, which is a nature preserve. These are sand shoals right here. It's a big wildlife and bird sanctuary. It's also got beautiful beaches, and it's even more remote than the Cape. And it's certainly less populated than Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard. Now let's see, are we looking at Nantucket here? Looks like it. That looks like the tip. Yeah, it's hard to tell. But of course, we can tell just by going like this. Yes, okay, yeah, that is the tip of Nantucket right there. All right, let's fly this approach. We'll fly a low approach, and then we'll go buzz around town, I guess. I'm using Orbix's Nantucket or Wild Blue Yonder or whatever it is, but well, it's now Orbix. And Orbix is going to port over every single one of its airports, they say, to X-Plane, which is going to be fabulous. And they're also going to port over Orbix Global, which is texture replacements. I don't know how good that's going to be. It doesn't really matter much to me. I use ortho, but it's pretty cool nonetheless. Now let's see how our autopilot works here. I'm going to set 2000, and I don't think it's going to do anything yet because we have not chosen a mode. But if I arm it, it's going to do nothing because I'm still in altitude hold mode. But if I choose vertical speed, and let's just start off by, come on little airplane, there we go. Choosing 500 feet per minute down, it's going to start to descend us, so it should. Altitude gets screwed up and I can't reset it. I don't know why that says 0. Bring that back to 2000. Come on, there we go. On that, so we put a 4 on that, and this way we're going to kind of be in better shape when we get to this fix. Now you can see I'm screaming down here pretty much. The other thing I never did was shut our cowl flaps, which is probably responsible for a little bit slower flight than we ordinarily would have. Let me give you a good look at Nantucket here. There we go. There's Nantucket Harbor. And as we approach our hold here, we really should reduce speed. So let me just start to roll off to about 15 inches of manifold. Let the speed decay. And let's see how it flies this. Just to be right about it, our inbound course is going to be 241. So I'm going to turn our heading to about 1, instead of 061, I'm going to make it 031, so I can do a teardrop entry if it doesn't do it for us. Now, to tell you the truth, I'm not sure why it is doing it for us, because it's not supposed to have GPS steering. In editing this airplane in PlaneMaker, I may have accidentally added it, which means that this is going to fly like an airplane that's had a sort of added accessory to it, which is what's called GPS steering, and you can retrofit planes with it. And all right, so here we go, and our entry to the hold is active, and that's going to be our entire hold actually. So let's see how it turns us. Okay, so we're 061. It should turn us, well, 45 degrees from that, so 016. That's where it's going to put us? No, oh, I see. Oh, it's going to fly the hold this way, which is actually not the way the hold is published, which is right turns. It's going to, interesting, it's going to do what you can legally do, which is you can fly any entry in any pattern you want as long as you stay on the protected side of the hold and you keep the distances where they want them to be. So, fascinating. Alright, so what I'm going to do right now is we'll set our heading to 241 plus 45, which is 286, and that's what we'll turn to intercept the localizer. So, no, not 286, Jesus, I'm losing my mind. 241 minus this, so we'll turn it to about heading southish, right about there. And that's how we're going to intercept our localizer. And so what we'll do is in a second, we're still a little bit, I'm going to roll off some power, we're still a little bit high here. Just going to increase our rate of descent. That'll get us coming down. And there's the localizer we're going to intercept. I don't think it's set up to auto switch to VLOC, but I'm about to switch it in a second. What we'll do is we'll get in heading mode, and switch over to VLOC right as we round this turn. So I'm going to get into heading mode in a second. In fact, I can get in it now. It'll keep the turn coming. It should keep the turn coming. There we go. Okay, we're about 500 feet away. And as we level off, this will slow down right to where we want to be. And now that we are in heading mode, I'm going to switch to VLOC. And look at that. See right where our heading bug is? That's right where we want to be to intercept. Alright, so we've done good. Haven't screwed it up too badly yet. So now we're on an intercept. And now you can see, go full rich. Props full fine. My speed is going to decay. I'm going to bring up the power to about 15 inches. And that's going to get us to the point where when we lower our flaps and lower our gear, I'm just going to turn on the landing light here, we're going to be in good shape to descend. So fix our rudder trim. So we're going to chug along here and we're going to get established on the localizer in a second. See where we are? And you see also how the magenta line's here and we're here, and that's because of this right there, that wind. So we'll keep that in mind. So I'll use the heading bug again to just to bring us on in. Okay, needle's starting to move. So I'm just keeping my heading bug on the tip of that CDI and that's going to fly us right on in. You can see we're below the glide slope. Okay, and I'll get into nav mode now. See, we're going about 140. By the time I get gear and flaps out, that's going to slow us down quite a bit. I can get gear out at this speed, but I'm not going to yet. Turn our fuel pumps on. Landing lights are on. Gas, mixture, all good. Looking for the glide slope now. You can see the autopilot flying us. There we go. I've got my hand on the yoke. Yeah, I can feel it move. See what our wind looks like here. It's almost dead ahead. That's good. And there we go. There's our final approach fix, and there is our top of descent. Look at that. I'm just going to let this be here. I'm not going to try and navigate to it. I'm not sure why there's a little bit of a discrepancy, but we'll leave that alone for the moment. And we're just going to chug along right now, just below, just at white arc speed. And we're going to descend at this speed right there, blue line. The airport is out there, more or less, right on the south shore. And you know what I can do? I can just set my nav1 DME. We're 9 miles out. I should have done that before. Beautiful airplane. Airport's in sight. The town is actually here. The town of Nantucket is out here, and I think we're flying over the town of, that's the town of Wisconsin, or maybe it's right there. Wisconsin, as they say. Alright, waiting for that glide slope. We'll do it old school. Here we go. When it's 1 dot away, we'll hit approach. There we go. See if it starts us down, and it does rather precipitously. Okay, we'll go gear down. I'm going to briefly come off the power because when I put the flaps down, it's going to balloon us up a little. I'm going to come back on the power. Around 17 inches. There we go, blue line. We're going to only use 1 notch of flaps. And, alright, since we're porpoising all over the place, I'm going to just fly the airplane here. Let me see if I can get on a localizer here, give us a little more power. Vertical speed. That's about the right heading. And the wind is blowing us. You can see from right to left, which is correct a little bit there. miles out, 1,200 feet. That's 4 times 3 is 12. That's exactly right. Okay, just ever so slightly low, we'll correct for that. Right. Looks like the wind's died down a little bit. Okay, just a little high. Okay, back on profile. Above a minimum, just a little to the right. That's good. All right, and there we are. So we'll slow below blue line here. We've got the runway made. Just adjust our trim a little bit. Do a touch and go. Now, 2 touches and a go. Show you Nantucket town and a little bit of marine layer fog here. Better gear up. Stay away from that. Stay kind of low here. So here's the town coming up. There's the harbor. It's a very small island. It's Brand Point right there, that little thing sticking out. By the time you get to pattern altitude, you're out of the island, so. Oh, let's see. Oh. Nothing like a text from an ex-girlfriend. 2 texts. Just get rid of that first. Don't some people know we're flying approach here? Alright, let's see how we're going to do this. We're on about a downwind leg, but we're just a little far away. I can't see the airport, but we'll just come back the way we came. Ooh, look at the wind. Look at the coastline there and look at us move. This drift. Very cool. Alright, let's fly out through this harbor. I got so unbelievably sick on a sailboat in this bay here. Not because the day was choppy, but because of the sandwiches I'd gotten from an organic food store called Something Natural, and I should have known because, you know, salmonella is something natural too, so that's what I had. And you can imagine coming down with that on a sailboat in the middle of a bay. Oh, geez. It was gnarly. It's like I'm wishing I'm Captain Ahab at that point. I'd freaking lose a leg after that. Alright, so we'll come around and we'll come back in. This is a really enjoyable plane to fly. It's really sporty. It's a lot of fun. Alright, let's see if we can do slightly better on the landing than we did. It's the only road leading out here on the island. Alright, where's the goddamn field? Alright, I see it. There we go, it's right there. That's our runway. Should really trim out a little bit here. That would be nice. The thing handles so beautifully. It's quick but not overly quick. Here, let me show you. This is the roll rate, and that's with full deflection. And it's nicely damped, so you look at this, let go. Well, anyway, actually we have to land an airplane, so. Okay, get to around 15 again. One notch of flaps. Little nose down for a moment. Fight that balloon. Let the speed decay and let us drop down. There we go. Red over white. A little more power. There we go. That's about right. A little more nose down. There we are. Bit of wind off the right. Fly a little wing low right here. There we go. It's not even a lot of wing low, so. Let's try to not float here. There we go. And we'll leave expeditiously. And look at this cute little airport here. Hello. And look at that, it's got a little Cape Air And they do fly here, so let's join them. And I have to say, that's just pretty. That is really beautiful. Get our park brakes on, get our avionics off, shut ourselves down. Pumps, mags, alternators, master, off, off, and off. All right, so there you have it. First flight back after a while, and it's really sweet. It's good to be back, and look forward to some more flights from me really, really soon. And in the meantime, have a good weekend and safe flying. Bye-bye.